What's up, everybody? I am your host, a confused teenage boy in a very confused movie, and that is my co-host, the dream demon who hates pool parties, gym coaches, and the power of love. And welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate, where today we have ourselves a little Halloween season fun. Normally, we talk about movies that people love and really enjoy, but today is a little different. Because on this episode of Terror or Error, we are going to talk about a movie that is not well regarded by a lot of the horror community. So this week, we decided to purge all of our previous opinions and feelings about this film and watch it with a blank slate in order to ask the question, is it really that bad, or did it just catch a bad rap? Which I think is really an important question considering how much things have changed in society in film. What didn't work in the 80s or even the 90s may work well today in like the 2020s. And we are here to answer that question. So today we are going to be talking about the black sheep in this legendary franchise, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge from 1985.
I don't know if I would call this one the black sheep anymore. I think the remake is more hated.
Yeah, I don't, and I mean, this could just be me, but I don't really count the remake in like the Freddy franchise. Like, I feel like the remake it's a mistake that we all just hid.
Yeah,
We just don't count it. At least I don't count it.
I agree. I've never been able to sit and watch the entire remake. I've tried,
I did once.
but unfortunately, the masses, I think, do. And
Maybe.
I have seen people defend that movie. And unfortunately, when you type it in Google, Nightmare on Elm Street, that fucking movie comes up.
That's somebody needs to talk to Google about that. That needs to be
I
changed.
mean, that's not the first movie that comes up. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
that does count as a movie under the franchise. So
I personally count, the Nightmare on Elm Street is, Robert Englund as Freddy.
yeah,
If he's not playing Freddy, I don't count it.
I agree. And the unfortunate part of that is we will never get another Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's true.
Yeah, that could be a good thing.
Yeah, but it ended, Freddy versus Jason, so,
Jason did actually kill Freddy. Somebody finally took Freddy out.
Yeah.
That was the last Robert Englund on-screen Freddy we will ever get, is him winking into the camera.
So everybody knows this film as the gay one. There are undoubtedly some homoerotic scenes and characters in this, which is probably one of the main reasons why this movie got so much hate in the 80s. I don't think it's why it's disliked today, though. Like me personally, I have never cared about the hidden and not so hidden homosexual stuff in this. My dislike comes from how far they veered away from the rules of the first film.
Yeah, they definitely broke rules that you can't break. That is my
Yeah,
biggest gripe with the film, or
definitely.
has been. I don't really I will say this movie gets fucking gayer every time I watch it. Like, I'm pretty sure that I'm not pretty sure, I'm positive one could make the argument that this movie is just Freddy is just a metaphor for being gay and fighting your inner teenage gay feeling.
Yeah,
But I could see if you're somebody who grew up with those feelings, that this movie is personal to you.
yeah,
But despite that, it doesn't change the fact that it broke rules.
yeah. It has become kind of a cult classic, especially for people that are homosexual. It is a big deal to them, and I think a lot of people nowadays, the people that don't like it, don't care about that part of it. That's fine. If you want to put that in the movie, that's totally fine. it's really the breaking of the rules and the kind of completely changing what we seen in the first movie. I think that's why people don't regard it as a great Nightmare on Elm Street film. I wanted to kinda take it out of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and see what it was like, is it as bad of a movie, like, if it was just a movie on its own? And that's really what I wanted to do in this episode. Like, I typically do a rewatch of the whole franchise about every 2 or 3 years, and I will admit I always skip this because it doesn't quite feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street to me.
Man, I don't know. I think parts of it feels very Nightmare on Elm Street, but there's some parts of it that are just really homoerotic. Like, really, really like, if this was a standalone movie and the rest of the franchise did not exist, I would come away saying, "Wow, Freddy's really gay." Like,
Yeah.
he's like, the whole gay bar scene and Bob Shay, I don't know how they got him to dress up in the BDSM leather. I know I've seen them talk about that before. I don't remember what the conversation behind that was, but yeah, like that whole scene and the coach taking him to the school
Yeah.
in the middle of the night to, you think this is a dream, but in reality, this actually happens in the movie. So the coach did take him back to the school to do some very illegal stuff. But then there's the whole like whipping him. Man, it gets really, really homoerotic at times.
Mhm.
And if you strip away the franchise, I would still be like, obviously, there wouldn't be like the rules thing that really hurts the movie in my opinion the most, but I would still come away with, "Wow, that was quite gay."
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie in probably, like, 12, 13, 14 years. It's been a really long time, but I wanted to watch it now that I'm older, and like I said, I wanted to kinda pull it out of the Freddy universe and just try to see how it was on its own as a film. And that's essentially what I looked at here. And I will say that I do have a bit of a different opinion, but you have to wait to the end to see which way that opinion went. And is it a drastic change? I wouldn't say so, but I do got a little bit of a different outlook on it. I will say that.
I can agree with that. It has not been nearly that long for me since I watched it, maybe a couple years, but I don't know, maybe more like 8 years. I kind of forgot, like, we'll get more into my opinions, and it did change a little bit, but I do remember watching this when I was younger and thinking some of this stuff was kinda weird, like, there was just some weird parts, but never, like, pinpointed my finger on anything, and then I remember being, like, 18 and watching the Never Sleep Again documentary and listening to them talk about this and being like, "Hmm, yeah, that makes a lot of sense," because that movie definitely had some very homo-feeling things in it, and it had been a long time since I watched it, and in that, I think I lost some of the really cool things that happen in this movie
There
too.
there are definitely some good things in this, which we will talk about in a little bit later on, but let's talk about the production. Let's talk about the background of this movie. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge is a 1985 American supernatural slasher film directed by Jack Shoulder and written by David Chatskin. It stars Mark Patton, Kim Myers, and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, and it is the second installment on a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Just like its predecessor, it was produced by New Line Cinema. It was released on November 1st of 1985, which is just under a year after the original was released. The original was released on November 16th of 1984. So just 15 days short of a year. That's a pretty quick turnaround for
That
a
is
sequel.
that is a very quick
Yeah.
turnaround.
It had a budget of $3 million and a box office of $30 million, which the first one had a budget of $1.1 million and had a box office of almost $60 million. So big difference in box office here, like almost half.
Yeah, yeah, big difference, and, I think a lot of the box office it did get is driven by and we've talked about this on the show before, the success of the original.
Yep. So it received mixed reviews from critics upon release, with many comparing it unfavorably to its predecessor. However, in recent years, it has been deemed a cult classic, with critics having reassessed the film's homoerotic themes and subject material. So, if you don't know, Wes Craven did not write or direct this film. It was offered to him, but after reading the script, he turned it down because he thought it was ridiculous, specifically the bird scene and pool party scene. He's not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, after the massive success of the first film, Bob Shea of New Line Cinema immediately put a sequel in motion, hoping to capitalize on the popularity of Freddy Krueger. The original idea for this film was to pay homage to Rosemary's Baby and have Freddy possess a fetus inside a pregnant woman who had recently moved into the Elm Street house. But New Line passed on this idea because executive Sarah Risher was pregnant at the time and the idea upset her. So they went with David Chaskin's idea of a possessed teenage boy instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, pregnancy emotions changed the whole course of history for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise,
Why would that upset her?
because pregnant women get upset really easily sometimes.
It's a
It's just
movie and you're like, it's not about you, or like it has nothing to do with you. Like
Brooke literally, she had a entire breakdown that they didn't put enough. I want to say it was Reese's or cookie dough in her Blizzard. A whole breakdown over
Oh.
that. Like, pregnant women just get really upset sometimes. It's just part of pregnancy.
It is worthy to note though that this pregnant lady idea, it did eventually happen in Nightmare 5: The Dream Child. They basically just took the idea that they had for this and just eventually used it on the back end. So,
Yeah, I do wonder what this movie would have had that idea
yeah,
came out
same.
in the second, like,
Totally.
what the potential that
Yeah,
had.
I
That could have
yeah,
been really good.
I know. So, Jack Shoulder had previously written and directed Alone in the Dark for New Line, and he was offered to direct this movie. He has stated in the past that he had no interest in ever directing a horror film and only took the job believing that the movie would make him more known around Hollywood. So, mistake number one was not handing this over to Wes Craven. Mistake number two was hiring a director that didn't give a shit about horror, which then brings us to mistake number three, which thankfully did not happen. So New Line originally wanted to save money by not hiring Robert Englund to reprise his role as Freddy, and instead simply used an unnamed extra in a rubber mask to play the part.
Wow. Yeah, that would have killed the franchise, I think.
Well, there's more. Thankfully, they realized their mistake once filming began, as the person they hired could not replicate England's body movements. Fun fact, the footage of the extra as Freddy does appear in this film, which is during the Coach Snyder death scene in the shower. That is not Robert Englund in that scene.
Uh-huh.
Yep, the original guy they hired. And another fun fact, Robert Shea actually wanted to play the role of Ron Grady's father, but was denied by director Jack Shoulder, who gave him the non-speaking role of the bartender at the S&M bar that Jesse visits. That's how he ended up in that spot.
Yeah. I could see the dad role, like, especially if Bob Shay is not very good at acting. Like, that's not a big role, but the guy who plays the dad does a really good job at being a dad.
Yeah, he was in a movie we covered recently. Return of the Living Dead. He was, like, the manager of the medical place, and we were like,
Okay.
"We love that dude, he was
Yeah.
awesome." Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, yeah, he's one of
Mhm.
my favorite characters.
Yeah.
He is I'll say, he's an underdog for a favorite character in that movie.
Yes, definitely. So the film special effects were done by Kevin Yeager and Mark Shostrom, who expressed disappointment and confusion regarding the ending of the film.
Yeah, I can see that.
Don't we all? It was released on November 1st to 522 screens located in New York, Washington, D.C., Detroit, and Texas, where it started out fairly strong with its 10-day box office reaching a little over 5.5 million. But unfortunately, it received mixed reviews from both critics and fans of the original, with one critic saying, an intriguing subtext of repressed sexuality gives Freddy's Revenge some texture, but the nightmare loses its edge in a sequel that lacks convincing performances or memorable scares. Oof.
Mm, yeah, it's rough.
Many fans have often remarked on the film's perceived homoerotic theme, claiming its subtext suggests Jesse is a repressed homosexual. At the time of its release, one publication referred to it as, quote, the gayest horror film ever made.
Yeah, and I think it stands as, you could still argue that it's definitely one of the gayest horror films ever made.
At one point, even the writer, David Chaskin, states that, quote, there is nothing logical that it can explain the level of homoeroticism in this movie, which apparently wasn't in the original script, but was constantly added via rewrites as filming took place. This eventually forced lead actor Mark Patton to announce his sexuality to the world, which he was totally trying to avoid. And considering this was the 80s, it pretty much tanked his career, which he very much blames on Chaskin, who denied this for years, claiming Patton just, quote, played the part too gay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna I mean, he played the part pretty gay, but I'm not gonna put that on him.
No, that's no, 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 no. That's not his fault. There is a lot more that goes into this, which became this like decades long feud between these two. If you were interested in more information on this, check out a really good documentary called Scream Queen: My Nightmare on Elm Street. It has all these people in it. It focuses on Mark Patton. Came out like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, but it's very interesting, and it's got a lot of good information, and they really do get to the bottom of this stuff in this movie that people some people like, some people dislike. Mark Patton hates it because it ruined his career. We kinda hear from him, we hear from the writer. We get a little more clarification this many years later what really happened, so I would recommend checking that documentary out. I believe it should still be on Shudder. I'm not sure. That's where I watched it at, but
Part of me feels bad for Mark Patton because this totally would not hurt his career at all. It would help it
yeah, yeah.
nowadays, like, in the way Hollywood is today. Definitely would be praised for his performance here and would definitely have no problem coming out gay, but I've seen in the Never Sleep Again documentary them I think it was specifically and it's a lot of people that worked on it, but it was specifically Bob Shay just flat out being like, "I just didn't see it." Like, I
Yeah,
just
come
didn't
on,
see it, and
man.
I'm like, "Man, how could you watch a final cut of this movie and just not see it? Like, were
Yeah.
you that blinded by money?" Like, I get it was a very quick turnaround and, the original Nightmare on Elm Street really is what gave New Line hope. It gave him a new lifeline. Like, without the success of that movie, New Line does not exist, and I get that they were trying to do a quick turnaround, but, man, how could you possibly say that you don't see it?
Yeah, I don't know. Most people see it. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
just is what it
like,
is.
once you know, knowing the history of this movie, like, even the opening scene, like, the bus ride, like, watching that and just how he kind of is with the 2 girls that's on the bus,
Oh,
and
yeah.
him hiding behind the girls as the bus is crashing. It's like, man, it's from the very jump.
Since this is a show about disliked movies, next I'm going to read some of the critic reviews. I did not go and cherry pick these reviews. These were the first 3 reviews I came across. So Jason Bailey says, this sequel is clunky, sluggish, poorly cast, not funny, and worst of all, not scary. And it all but dispenses with what made the first film scary to begin with. So Kim Newman says, possibly the lamest of all the sequels, although 5 and 6 later set the bar particularly low. And finally, Patrick Kavanaugh. Even though the allegories for the personal demons and hiding your sexuality are fascinating, they aren't explored thoroughly enough to make this sequel worth watching.
Damn.
Yeah. So the ratings for this, as they currently stand, Rotten Tomatoes, 41%, IMDb, a 5.5 out of 10, and Letterboxd, get this, it's not a 3, it's a 2.8.
Yeah.
So, yeah, even Letterboxd couldn't give it a 3 something, which I
They
think that
give
might be
every movie ever a
yep,
3 point
this
something.
might be the first movie we read off that wasn't like a 3 something. All right, so I'm going to do a quick rundown through the plot, let everybody know where we're at, keep everybody on the same page, what's going on. So, 5 years after the events of the film, a new family moves into the Elm Street house. Jesse Walsh, a 17-year-old high school student, immediately begins having nightmares featuring Freddy Krueger, which starts to trigger weird events in the home. While this is going on, oddball Jesse, who is the new kid at school, starts having issues with his very strict gym teacher, Coach Snyder. One night, Jesse discovers Freddy in his basement where his murder glove is still hidden in the house's furnace. When Freddy suddenly confronts him, he demands Jesse kill for him. The next day, Jesse and his friend Lisa discover Nancy Thompson's diary detailing the events from the first film, which kicks off an investigation by the 2 teens where they discover Freddy's dark past. One night, Jesse, who is at odds with his hard-nosed father, sneaks out and heads to an S&M bar where he is caught trying to drink by Coach Snyder, who then takes him back to the school gym for some punishment, where afterwards Jesse turns into Freddy and kills the coach in the shower room. This, plus all the nightmares and issues at home, begin to cause Jesse to mentally and emotionally spiral. When Lisa starts to notice this, she attempts to try and help him. By the way, she also seems to be in love with him. Later that week, Lisa throws a pool party at her house, inviting many of the kids from school. When Jesse shows up, Lisa takes him into the house where things start to get hot and heavy. But before things get too far, Jesse freaks out, feeling Freddy begin to take over his body, and quickly leaves the party where he sneaks into his friend Grady's bedroom to tell him what is going on. While discussing the situation, Jesse completely turns into Freddy, killing Grady while his concerned parents call the police and try to break down the bedroom door. Fearing being arrested for the murder, Jesse escapes out of the window and heads back to Lisa's, where he confesses to her that he turned into Freddy and killed Coach Snyder and his friend Grady. While Lisa tries to calm him down, he again turns into Freddy and attempts to attack her, but Jesse's love for Lisa halts the attack, forcing Freddy to run out into the pool party and begin attacking the other kids. Lisa's dad then runs out and attempts to shoot him, which I totally forgot somebody tries to shoot Freddy. But Lisa stops her father, fearing that if he kills Freddy, he will also kill Jesse. Freddy then escapes the party, forcing Lisa to go looking for him/Jesse, where she then drives to the abandoned factory where Freddy used to kill children, according to Nancy's diary. Once there, she finds him inside, still looking like Freddy, and as he goes to kill her, she and Jesse profess their love for each other, where she then does the wildest shit I have ever seen, kissing Freddy passionately, which causes him to collapse in pain, burst into flames, and burn, turning him to ash. As the ash then falls away, we see an unharmed Jesse emerge, feeling like it is finally over. Later that week, as Jesse, Lisa, and Lisa's friend Carrie are taking the bus to school, Jesse instantly notices similarities to his original nightmare and begins to panic. Carrie insists that it's all over before Freddy's arm bursts through her chest as Freddy laughs. The bus then drives into a field, just as in Jesse's first nightmare. That's the whole movie. Yep.
That is it.
Yep.
Very,
I,
very, very awful ending.
I wrote that like off the top of my head, off the top of my head, and I was like, you know what? There's not a lot of kills in this.
No,
No,
not a lot of scariness in this,
no,
man.
not a lot of Freddy.
For a movie that was less than a year after the original, which is the darkest and scariest one by far in the franchise, this one definitely lacks on scares.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna talk about the good and the bad. We're gonna start off with the bad. We're gonna go ahead and get it out of the way. So first off, I hate some of the scenes in this movie. The room cleaning scene is
That is the most that is the most, like, basic, like, I hated this I hate some of the scenes
I do.
in this movie.
There's some that I just
It's like
hate them.
almost every single one of them.
No, I don't hate no, no, no. There's a lot of stuff I like in this movie, but the room cleaning scene, it's hilarious, but it's awful. It's bad.
It okay, I'm with you there. I
It's
back
bad.
that up.
The
Awful.
the bird exploding is dumb. The pool party, it could have been cool, but then Freddy didn't really do much but, like, kill the vibe. Like, I don't think he killed any kid like,
He killed the party.
he didn't kill anybody. Like, he
He
throws
just
that guy into the grill, but he doesn't die. And then all the people that he was, like, trying to boil in the pool, they get out.
and are fine.
They're fine. Yeah, so, like, he just goes there and just wrecks the fucking party. Like, he just kills the vibe of the party. Like, that's all he does. And it was, like it reminded me of, like, in Freddy versus Jason, where Jason shows up to the party at the in the cornfield,
But he fucked
but
shit
he
up.
fucks shit up. And it could have been so cool. It could have been like that. And then but he doesn't, like, do anything.
Bro, that is a I don't wanna take it off topic here, but Jason on fire, walking through a cornfield, slaughtering kids,
Just dope as
is
hell, man.
awesome.
Yeah. But I would say, man, one of the worst things is him going to the bar in the middle of the night. Like, nothing about it makes sense to me. And then, like, why does the coach take him to school to make him run laps?
Y Yeah,
Like,
the
what?
coach was definitely planning some illegal activities. I'm just gonna I don't want YouTube to absolutely destroy
Well,
this,
I
but
thought about that, but then he doesn't actually do anything.
oh, I think he was planning on it. Like, he found this, like, 16, 17-year-old kid at a BDSM bar that's called Dom's Place. He's already a
Yeah.
very dominant, like, already kind of, like, has it out for this kid, and he's clearly into BDSM. He's at a fucking BDSM gay bar. I definitely think when he said hit the showers, he was gonna do some illegal activities. I'm
Well, they
just
should have put that in there, like, he goes to, like, do something, and Jesse turns to Freddy.
I
Because then
think
been like, "Okay," Freddy's like, "But you stay off my man, stay away from my man."
I think it was highly, I think they wanted to go that direction, but there's also some boundaries on, so they kind of wanted to show that, but they couldn't, like, directly put that in there because of the heat that they may have got from that.
Yeah, it just, like, one of the things that bugs me, though, is, like, okay, Jesse just moved here, so how does he know where this place is? Why does he go to this place?
Yeah, I agree. Like, why is a child going to a BDSM gay bar in
And
the middle of the
obviously,
night?
he walks there. Like, he doesn't drive there, I don't think.
It's obviously close to his neighborhood. He is a teenage kid who is struggling with his sexuality, and he has probably noticed a place called Dom's Place right outside of his neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know. So another thing is, like, this girl is obviously she's into him the whole movie, but he isn't showing very much interest in her besides just being friends. Like, he's in my opinion, like, he's way more into his friend Grady than her. So, how the fuck did they fall in love, like, so fast at the end? Like, their love that just happened is so powerful, it fucking kills Freddy. Like, it kills him.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I think that goes into the awful ending that people talk about. And
They should have at least set it up, though, where they're, like, they're kinda dating or something, but he doesn't seem like he's not romantically interested in her.
yeah, I agree. I 100% agree, and I think most of the world does because people talk about how this ending makes no fucking sense.
The dream demon gets defeated by a fucking kiss. That's a shame.
Yeah.
That should be illegal. Yeah, dude, that's just man, that's fucking wild to me. Like, why they decided to end it like that is, they almost would have been better with sticking with the whole, like, her telling Jesse, "Don't be scared of him. Your fear is what's fueling him." Just like we seen Nancy, how she beat him in the first one. Like, just stick with that. We don't need this whole, like, love thing that, stops Freddy. We don't need that. Why are we putting that in here?
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
that's one thing that is a downer, big downer for me in this.
well, I think that goes back to having a director who has no interest in horror.
Yeah. So, next is gonna be there's, like, almost no nightmares in this movie, and it's called A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, there's, like, 2 nightmares in the whole movie, which is, like, the beginning and then possibly, I guess, the one where where Freddy, first first talks to Jesse and he's like, "You're gonna kill for me, you got the body and I got the brains," like, that shit, that I think that's also a nightmare. But Freddy is so much more prominent in the real world in this one than he is in the dream world, which doesn't make sense. How was he in the real world like this? If he could do this, he would have beat Nancy, no problem.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Think a lot of it is like he is dreaming, but like sleepwalking dreaming. There's even one scene where he mentions that, you know, he says he felt like he was dreaming, but because he wakes up in the basement on the floor with the glove. And I think a lot of the movie takes place in that state where he's like sleepwalking and he doesn't realize that he is killing these people because that's not what his dream state is showing him, but in reality that's what's happening. Like he's obviously sleeping for throughout these he's sleeping, but he's acting he's out and killing these people in the real world.
I mean, it's barely people because I think it's only 2 people.
Yeah.
But that's like in the first one, Freddy kills everyone in their dream. In this one, he doesn't even go after, like, anybody else in their dream. He just, like, goes after Jesse, and then he, like, decides that he's just gonna take over Jesse's body, I guess, and then kill people in the real world, and that's, like it's such a drastic shift from the rules in the first one. And I'm so glad that they went back in Dream Warriors and fixed all this, like, went back to the original Freddy, because this would be such a bummer if they would've just ran with this thing, like, the rest of the franchise, this, like, killing people in the real world with, like, taking over somebody's body. I don't think it would've made it very far if they would've not went back to the dream stuff. The dream stuff's, like, the coolest shit about Nightmare on Elm Street, is all the cool ways Freddy kills people in their dreams.
I mean, it's what made the franchise very unique.
Yeah. I mean, he's known as the Dream Demon. Each movie, the dream kills get, like, more and more elaborate and more cool, and this doesn't have any that's what I'm saying, it doesn't feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie to me because we're missing one of the main ingredients, which is the killing all of the kids in their dreams. In also, like, in the other movies, the teenagers are talking about Freddy, but the adults don't believe him. In this one, it's just one kid talking about Freddy, and his friends don't really believe him. So it's so fucking different than what the other movies were. I don't like it. I hate that.
Yeah, for the most part, I, agree. So, I'll start with the obvious, the elephant in the room, the gay stuff. I don't mind there being a subtext, but I think it was too obvious. Like, the movie, it's so obvious that Freddy is like a metaphor for his homosexuality, which it's awful for a sequel to this amazing fucking first movie.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you gotta do that in the first one.
Yeah, yeah, the first one has nothing to
Mhm.
do with that. So to take a sequel to this amazingly successful movie and make it not just like a subtext, but a very obvious, like it's the whole fucking movie. It
Yeah.
is Freddy is a metaphor for homosexuality, and people picked up on it very quick. Like it was such a thing that Mark Patton, it ruined his whole career.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that for starters, that's probably what I take away the most on the bad, but this movie, for the first one being so scary, this one does not have any scariness to it at all.
No, it's more like a teenager struggling with himself than it is about this dream demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dream demon is kind of the side plot, and the him discovering that he doesn't like women is the main plot, it feels like. At least there's at least chunks of the movie where that's at the forefront.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, Freddy is just a metaphor. Like, Freddy is just, like, the engine that drives the car, but this is, like, his homosexuality is the car, it's the movie. Freddy is just how they get the make the movie make sense.
Yeah, so when I was putting together this episode, I actually kinda had a bit of an epiphany where I almost wonder if this was another movie and they just pulled the script and were like, "Let's just throw Freddy in there." Because, like,
Eh
they've done that with some of the Cloverfields, right? Where it's an actual different movie, but then they're like, "Well, we'll just stick Cloverfield in here somehow, some way, and connect it to Cloverfield." And I almost wonder, because they wanted to get that make it happen so fast, if they just pulled a script for another movie they had and then was like, "Well, we'll just stick Freddy here and here and here, and it'll be a Nightmare on Elm Street movie." And
yeah.
the mindset probably is like, well, horror fans don't care as long as there's something scary and there's a couple kills. And Wes Craven said that. He said, "I used to hate being a horror director, but once I got older and I realized that I could really make any movie I wanted as long as I had something scary and some kills, it would be fine. They would let me make whatever." And I almost wonder if that is what happened. Like, was this really written as a Nightmare on Elm Street, or was it something else?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if he got offered a, Nightmare on Elm Street script and he already had this coming to age homosexual teenager drama written out, and he
Yeah.
just combined the 2.
I mean, that's what a lot of it feels like. A lot of it, because like I said, we don't really have nightmares. They have the one in the beginning. There's none of the teenagers are getting killed in the nightmares. Like, pretty much all of the main stuff from the original is not in this one.
Yeah. I also I know you touched on the scenes. The dance scene is awful. Like, I'm not sure why that was even put in the movie.
Oh, it's like a
It's
fucking from
so cringy.
it's like it's a scene from, like, The Breakfast Club or something, like, one of those '80s teen movies is what that's something you would see in, like, a teen drama or teen comedy, you know?
Yeah.
Not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yeah.
I woulda hated if Nancy did that in the first one. I'd have hated it.
Yeah, yeah, has no place. I mean, at least if you had it in the first one, it would have been awful, but it would have been the first in the franchise, but the fact that we already had a movie that set the standard, it just feels so fucking out of place.
Yep.
Like, it makes no sense. Some of the character stuff makes no sense, like the whole, like, him going to Grady's house in the middle of the night, whereas in the beginning of the movie, like, him and Grady do not get along, they're not friends, like, Grady seems like more of a bully. That it literally makes 0 sense. Grady even at one point tells him, like, "Yeah, you got this chick that wants to sleep with you,
Yeah.
and you're here in my room wanting to sleep with me? Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?" That guy, the guy who plays him, I will say, is one of the bright spots as far
Yeah.
as acting
I like
wise in
him.
this movie. I
Reminds me a
I
lot of Rod.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does a really good job playing, especially in that scene, like, "What the fuck are you doing in my house?"
Yeah.
Like like, we're not even close like that. Like,
Yeah.
why are you here in my house? I hate that Freddy doesn't go after anybody else.
Yep.
Like, that is a huge staple of the entire franchise. It's him picking off this group of friends,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he doesn't go after anybody else.
No.
Like, he just uses this kid's body to kill people in the physical world,
Mhm.
which is so far removed from any of the other franchise or any of the other movies in the franchise. It makes 0 sense. And speaking of making 0 sense, the ending. The whole, like you said, their kiss defeating Freddy, even if they were in love and there was this, like, awesome chemistry behind the 2, Freddy getting killed over a kiss makes no sense. Like,
No, there's
not
no universe that
there's
that makes
no
any sense.
yeah, there's nowhere in the rule book that that makes any sense that that would harm Freddy. Those two's chemistry is he's more like the gay best friend.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying, they're more like friends
the
than
whole, like
lovers.
yeah, the whole kiss at the pool party thing, like, that whole thing is
It's clunky.
it feels weird, it feels out of place
Yeah.
because he doesn't like, they don't give that vibe, like, they don't have good chemistry, and it makes sense why they didn't have good chemistry because he in real life was gay, and
Yeah.
they probably had more like a gay best friend relationship offset. It's very, very weird, out of place, and then the biggest problem for me out of everything is just breaking the rules.
Yep.
Like, they break the
Totally agree.
rules. You don't have Freddy in the real world unless he's pulled from a dream. Freddy tries to avoid getting pulled into the real world because that is his one way of actually being defeated, being hurt, is to be pulled in the real world. In the dream world, he can do anything. You cut him in half, he can regrow his fucking legs. He literally uses that to, like, fuck with these kids throughout the franchise. The one way to defeat him in the original was Nancy has to pull him into the real world. And in this movie, he tries to take over this teenage boy's body to become part of the real world. And then when he's in the real world, like the pool scene, it makes no sense. Like, he just kind of, like, gets scared and, like, runs off.
Well, yeah, it's weird too because in the first one, he Nancy brings him into the real world and she kinda kicks his ass with all these traps.
He gets home
And
alone.
yeah, and then in this one, we actually see Lisa stab him, and it's like he just like it doesn't hurt him. He's got like powers here in the real world, and it's like, okay, whoa, 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 this does not match up with the other one.
Yeah, they broke way too many rules.
Yep.
And it does not vibe with the original at all. Like, it doesn't feel like these 2 movies take place in the if you took Freddy Krueger away, if you were reading this as a book and you took, Robert Englund and Freddy's face out of it, these 2 movies do not feel like they belong in the same franchise.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about the good stuff. There is some good stuff. So, I really do dig the intro with the school bus, like, I think that this is one of the few times that the classic Freddy type nightmare like, it really feels like a nightmare film right here. I think that the Robert Englund not in Freddy makeup was a really cool touch, especially back then when he wasn't nowhere near as known as he is now. Like, we see him now, we know who he is, but back then, he'd only been in one other Nightmare movie. Most people had not seen him out of the makeup, so it was a cool little touch. But I do think that this little nightmare sequence is kind of a classic Freddy, which is definitely missing from this movie. So I think that's one of the good things about it. I do think the effects are pretty good, man, like, the scene where Freddy rips his head skin off, exposing his skull, that's kind of a classic scene in the franchise, like, that does pop up if you see those videos, they kinda have a lot of the classic Freddy scenes. The part where Jesse's arm turns into Freddy's arm, that's a good scene, special effects wise. And then my favorite is when Jesse fully turns into Freddy in front of Grady.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then one thing that I think this movie did really good that I have seen kinda transfer over to the other movies was those fucking demon dogs, man. They're creepy, and I'm pretty sure they come back in some of the other ones.
Yeah.
So that was a cool little idea that they put in there that does have that Nightmare on Elm Street feel from the franchise. Like, I think that they're like dogs with, like, it's like a human baby face or something. It's
It's very
fucking
creepy.
fucking weird. So I do think the special effects were really good. There's not a ton of them, but what we do see are really good. I do think that and I had forgotten this because I hadn't seen it in so long, we do see kinda scary Freddy, like we talked about in the first one. We don't see comedy Freddy, really.
Yeah.
We will see in Dream Warriors next. He's still kind of his scary version of himself in this. I just wish we got more of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. We get some hints, like, "You got the body, I got the brains," and
Yeah.
the one-liners that Freddy has, but for the most part, Freddy is more of the menacing Freddy and less of like, in the later versions where
Comedic
he's
Freddy, yeah.
just comedy all the way.
Yeah.
Like, whenever he's, like, looking at himself in the mirror and Freddy's there and he's just, like, menacing, like, kinda laughing at him, but just in a very horrifying way. Definitely more of the darker Freddy.
Yeah, I know when we covered the first one on the main show, we actually kinda talked about, like, yeah, this is kinda the one where you see Freddy really scary, and then he kinda changes after this, but I forgot
Well,
about
it was a slow change because we got this movie as kind of a the comedy Freddy comes out more and more until about part 4 or part 5 where it's just purely comedy Freddy. This, I think, is a good transition because in the first one, he doesn't really talk much. He's very, very like, you don't even see him that much throughout the first half of that movie.
Yeah.
And he's very dark. In this one, I thought it was a good transition. We see him more, but he doesn't talk as much. He does, like I said, we get some hints. He has a couple one-liners, but for the most part, he is more of that menacing Freddy.
Another thing I really liked that this movie did was them including the Elm Street house in Nancy's diary, which talks about Glenn and Tina and Freddy. I think that this movie does a really good job of doing a callback to the first one, but not overdoing it. Like, not it, it's just too much of a callback. I think they do a good job of bringing just enough in to remind you of the story and kind of get you warm and fuzzy with the house and what happened, and then kind of continuing their own story. It is unfortunate that the story that they continued is not really the story that makes sense, but I do think that they do a good job of bringing the first one into this. I mean, I even paid attention too to like the house. The inside is pretty accurate to what it was in the first one. there's, like, wallpaper and it's painted differently, but it's 5 years later, I can understand that. But the actual structure of inside the house, and I don't know if you noticed, but Jesse's room is Nancy's room. The windows are in the same spot, and there's even a scene, I think it's in the beginning where he wakes up, the bars are still I could still see the bars on the
Well,
window.
yeah, they mention, like, you move into the house with the bars, and at one scene, the dad is actually taking the bars off of the window
Yeah,
or
so
putting them back on, I
I
don't
think he's taking them off, but I like that. I like that they did because this movie could have just not done that at all because it already was going off and doing its own thing. And I'm really surprised that they brought that much of the first one into this. But I do think that is a shining moment in this movie is what they bring from the previous story.
the iconic red door was interesting.
This was the first
Yeah,
time the door was
yeah.
read. Yep, yep. Like I said on the other episode, like I can't believe I didn't notice that for so long.
Yeah, I really think the bars on the window thing, I just wanna jump back to that scene. That's why I said either taking them off or putting them back on, 'cause you think he's taking them off, but it really makes no sense that the night after the police bring their son home from walking in the middle of the night where he was at a school where a murder happened and all this shit, like, obviously, this murder happened at his school, and he was found walking near there, like, naked in the middle of the night,
The
and
police are not good.
you choose that day as a dad to take the bars off the window? It's
Yeah,
kind of odd timing.
yeah.
Maybe he's like, "These bars are useless."
Well, I mean, that just goes back to, like, what we were talking about with the bird, what's up like, the bird explodes, and then the other bird is, like, possessed and tries to attack them, like, what the fuck? And the bird scratches the dad on the cheek, and then, like, the whole half of the movie, he's got the giant Band-Aid on his face.
To Nelly before Nelly made it cool.
And then yeah, and then the fucking toaster, like, explodes and it's not even plugged in. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
But yeah,
These are things that make no sense
no.
in the rules of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, so another thing though is I do really like that there's this plot of this demon that's slowly turning Jesse into this, like, vicious killer. It's not like a Freddy movie, but this could work with another supernatural film. Like, this could if you took Freddy out and put, like, a different demon or something in, some other kind of supernatural thing, and did this same plot minus, the Freddy stuff, I think this would be a fine movie. I probably wouldn't be, like, a huge fan of it, but I don't think it would be bad. I think it would be watchable. I think it would be fine. It would make sense. But because you got Freddy in there is what kind of fucks this plot up. But I do like that plot. I just don't like it as a nightmare movie. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a I can't pinpoint direct movies, but I think s variations of this plot have been
Yeah,
used
I agree.
throughout horror more than once,
I mean, this
where the main character ends up being the person who's killing the whole time.
yeah, you have a lot of movies that do that slow descent into madness and the nobody will believe this person as I mean, it's like similar like Smile, that something kind of similar happens in
I mean,
that.
you got American Psycho where he's literally slowly descending into madness,
Yeah.
and he literally tries to confess, and nobody will believe that he's the killer.
Yeah, and, and this is that same story, but, a demon is causing this, which is totally cool, totally fine, put that in the plot. That could be its own movie. I like that, I just don't like it as a nightmare movie. Oh, yeah, so another thing that I noticed this time, I've never noticed it before, was, when Jesse turns into Freddy at the end of the movie, which is like the last 25 minutes of the film, did you notice he's not wearing the glove? Like, the blades are, like, coming out of his skin,
Yeah.
and he literally stays like that for, like, the rest of the movie, and I think that's a cool little detail I've never noticed. I do like that, like, that's cool. he doesn't necessarily have to I don't know why he doesn't have the Freddy glove because we know he has possession of the glove. Apparently when Nancy moved out, she left the glove behind and didn't want to take it. She left it for the next teenager to find, I guess. But I do like that. That is a cool little detail I've never noticed before. But this movie has some cool stuff here and there. I'm not gonna dog the whole entire movie.
Yeah. As far as likes for me, I will say that I love the opening scene. Whenever I watched this and I seen the opening bus scene with the bus like bouncing through the hills and shit, I was like, okay, maybe this is better than what I remember it being.
I thought the
Like,
same thing, yeah.
I was like, damn, this feels like a Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's one of the reasons I don't really care for this movie is how much it doesn't feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street. And it starts out good. I will say Kevin Yeager doing the effects is definitely the brightest spot out of the whole
Agree.
movie for me.
Agreed.
I mean, you mentioned quite a few of them. Like, you got the body, I got the brains, and he pulls this fucking skull back, and
That's
his
awesome, yeah.
brains under there. That's fucking awesome.
The brain's kinda moving.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the fucking knives coming through his finger as when he's in Grady's room, he's doing his transformation into Freddy, and then Freddy eventually ripping through his body
Yeah.
was fucking awesome looking.
Dude, when he throws, like, the Jesse skin jacket off of his back onto the floor, that's great.
Yeah, it
It's probably my
make
favorite scene of the movie.
makes you wonder, like, what happened to Jesse's, like, skin body
Dude,
there because apparently it doesn't exist.
he's totally going to jail.
Yeah.
The cops are like,
Well, the cops
"Wait
probably
a
think
minute."
he's dead too.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I'm
like,
saying. The cops are like, "Wait a minute, like, this guy's stabbed to death. This guy is missing all of his skin. What the fuck?"
imagine how confused the police were when he shows up, Jesse shows up, and he's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% think Jesse is going to jail for murdering Grady after this, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, the like, when he's having the dreams and it's, like, really hot, they do, that
Oh, the
it's
melting room?
yeah, it's one thing that I mentioned that they did a lot throughout the first that I loved, which is this, like, nonsensical things that happen in your dreams,
Yeah.
doing a really good job of showing that. And in the dream sequences in the beginning of the movie, I thought they did a great job. You know, the stuff on his fucking shelf is, like, melting into a pile of goo,
Yeah.
and the record is literally, like, starting to warp. I thought the look of Freddy here, I thought he looked really good. I seen a thing, Kevin Yeager, he went in, he wanted to, obviously keep Freddy looking like Freddy, but he did some things where he made Freddy a little more, like, skeletal, like he had actually been burned and the skin tightened up, and it makes Freddy look because we talked about he doesn't have as much of those joking one-liners as he does in some of the other movies. It makes him look very menacing and very scary.
He's got Ozempic face.
He does. That's a good way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah,
All you women out there who think you're killing it, you look like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, so I thought he did a great job with that. Just the effects were definitely the shining star
Yep.
for me. I would say the first 20, 30 minutes, the dream sequences, the bus ride, the feel of the school and the town, and you mentioned, like, the Elm Street house, 1428 Elm.
Yep.
That all feels like a Nightmare on Elm Street, and I feel like after those first 20, 30 minutes, this movie really, really loses loses me completely.
I think it's pretty much when he goes to the bar. Pretty much after that, the movie changes.
Yeah, outside of the special effects, like, him ripping through the body and stuff, there's not much more that I enjoy throughout the rest of the movie. It loses its Nightmare on Elm Street feel. It loses the nonsensical, like, weird, creepy dream stuff that Freddy uses. That is what makes the original, like, really scary. It loses a lot of what makes the franchise so great after the
Yep.
first 20 or 30 minutes, minus those couple special effects.
Well, Dream Warriors comes in and scoops it back up and saves the day after this, thank God. One thing I do want to mention before we move on, there's a line in here that had to be written on purpose. So while Jesse is confessing to Lisa, he says, quote, "Fred Krueger, he's inside me and wants to take me again."
Yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
really?
Well, there's a couple lines like that. Like he says to Grady, like, "I don't know what it is, but he's inside me." And it's so fucking obvious. Like, the homoerotic undertones that are no longer undertones. They're just
No,
homoerotic. And that
they're outer tones.
yeah. That's the thing about this movie is it loses, like, the undertones, or if you wanna have, like, a subplot, but it's no longer a subplot, it's no longer undertones, it's completely out. This movie is out of the closet.
If
It
you,
is as it's gay as it gets at a certain point.
I would say if you want to have a gay movie, which is great, gay people, I think everyone should be represented in horror. If you want to have a gay movie, have a gay movie. Like come out and like that is what this is about. Don't try to hide it. I know they denied it for years. Good God, for like
Also
30 years. Just just make it and say this is what it is and horror fans will probably be fine with it.
I might take some heat for saying this, but do that on its own as its own movie.
No,
Don't
create.
take a
Yeah.
beloved franchise and completely bend and change the rules to make this a gay movie within a franchise that's not gay.
Yeah, just start a franchise, start a character like that, and, there'll be people that's really gonna like it.
Yeah,
There's gonna be people that's gonna be into it.
if they came out with a Friday the 13th and Jason was all of a sudden, like, just super gay for a movie, I would be upset by that. I'd be like, "If you wanna make a gay killer in a fucking hockey mask, then make that its own standalone movie, but don't make it part of the franchise and bend the rules to where it doesn't make sense." Especially in the second one, this was the sequel to the
Yeah.
original, and I think they really dropped the ball when they changed the rules,
You can't
and
change the rules.
they changed everything that made the original scary.
Yep. Yep. That's why I said in the beginning, I don't think it's necessarily the homosexual stuff that causes people not to be fans of this. I think it's the rules changing and the changing of pretty much everything.
Yeah, and like I said, it's so obvious.
All right, so we've reached the point where we're gonna give our verdicts. I think it's probably obvious where we're going. So, this one was a little difficult for me. Like, it's not a bad movie by any means. It's just a bad Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It completely, fucks up a lot of what we learned in the first one. But I would say, like, as a standalone movie, because like we were talking about it earlier, where this could have been its own movie in itself. It didn't have to be a Freddy movie. I would say, this wouldn't be a bad movie if that was the case. I would say it was a terror, but as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which it is a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it is definitely an error. That's my opinion. It is better than I remember, but it's still not a great movie to me.
Yeah. I'll take the first 20 of this and leave the rest.
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree with that. Well, that is our thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge. We hope you enjoyed it, and next week we'll be back to our main show. But let us know what you think about this movie. Are you a big fan, or, do you pretend it doesn't exist? And let us know what movie you want to hear next on Terror or Error. So once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website and check out the socials. Tell a friend, a family member, or your weird-ass gym teacher about the show. And we hope to see you next time.